Paul, what are all these data disks doing all over the place?
I think I have a bit of brain fog going on here due to being in cryofreeze for so long. I just don't remember much of the podcast.
Like what? Maybe I can help you.
All right, like this one. Let's start with the whole decoy of me. Am I the decoy? I mean, he sounds like me and I sound like him. I mean, how do I know he's him or I'm me or we're them or they or us?
Calm down, Paul, okay? Surely you're not the decoy, okay? You don't fall that short. Don't worry about it, okay?
Yeah, but how did you know? I mean, that's the whole point of being a decoy. It's in the name.
Let's just say he had some tells, all right? What else needs to be ironed out before we start today?
Did you know that we did a pirate radio episode?
Yeah. Shark radio, all sharks all the time. Shark radio, all shark radio. Whoa, 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 shark.
No, you're saying it wrong. It was shark. It was all shark radio, shark. Pew, 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 pew.
No, it was shark radio.
Yes, shark.
Shark. Look. I'm not letting you make this a thing, okay, for the whole day, okay? I can't have the high class of the show dragged down yet again with your potty humor, okay? Can we just please move on from this?
All right. How about this one? Did you know that Movie Dumpster's Joe Lascola was on the show?
Well, yeah, Book of Boba Fett episode.
Well, no. Well, yes on that, but no. He was on a different episode. He was on later when you were suspended.
Wait a second. I don't recall any of that. I was never suspended from my own show, from the pODDcast?
Well, then how do you explain Mr. Lopez?
Oh, him. Well, Mr. Lobo had a few sick days, and I needed to use them up. Super fan, master impressionist, Mr. Lopez, he just stepped in for a bit.
Well, whatever happened to him?
You know, he went on to compete in America's Got Impressions. Did really well. Afterwards, he moved to New York City and changed his name to pODDcast. Now he works for the Ghostbusters, a paranoid team of investigators that bust ghosts who don't wear pants. Apparently, you rubbed off on him.
Gross.
Indeed. Can we start the show now?
One more. Where did I put it? Here it is. Who was intern Prudence?
Look, we don't talk about Prudence. It's getting late. Can we start? Ow! Ow! I son of a gun! I burned my mouth on a cup of coffee. Made a mess. Paul, can you hand me the paper towels, please?
What are you going to do with that?
What? This is trash. I'm going to throw it away.
Well, can I have it? It might have some value in a few years.
Wait, did you take my bib for tuna figure as a garbage? You're not dreaming. You're listening to the Sleepless Knights pODDcast. I am not Mr. Lopez, and to my right and or left, this is not the Pantsless Producer.
Well, no, I am the Pantsless Producer.
Oh yeah,
am I not?
Right. You are. You are the Pantsless Producer. Yes, you are. You're not the decoy, is what I meant to say.
Well, now I think you're gaslighting me. Am I the decoy or am I not the decoy?
Look, let me just be straight with you. The decoy was barely passing. He was not a complete duplicate of you.
I mean, when you say passing, you mean like passing gas?
He couldn't pass gas. He didn't have an orifice.
I didn't go any further than just looking at the titles on the data. I didn't listen to any of the episodes and stuff. So I really anything that's beyond the description. I just passed on it.
That's the problem. Nobody wants to listen. So
you blame them?
We can't even listen to it ourselves. I stopped listening 5 minutes ago. I've already forgotten what we're talking about. How did we used to do this?
How did we used to do this?
I asked you first.
And I asked you second.
I mean, we had a show. I mean, we can agree that it's a show.
We
right?
had something, yeah.
Yeah. And then it would start, and then we would talk about a topic, usually, right?
Okay.
I mean, sometimes they were interviews, and sometimes we had laundry to do and stuff. But I
Right.
mean, there were for the most part, we would wax
On,
thoughtfully,
wax on,
wax off thoughtfully on a subject, right?
Sure, but what do you want to talk about? I mean, do we want to talk about current state of the world?
Oh, no. I think we always copiously avoided talking about like direct current events, presidents and politics and
Apes and apes.
politicized things. I think we did talk about apes versus apes and kaiju and other things, but they were like thinly veiled allegories for real things that were happening.
Okay. What about? Well, we already not talked about Star Wars. Do we just talk about Star Wars from here on? Do we spend nine episodes talking about Star Wars?
Two middle-aged guys talking about Star Wars.
Two middle-aged men bitching about Star Wars.
Bitching about Star Wars is.
Do I have to bleep that?
Yes. Well, I'm not sure anymore because I think that we bleeped on some of the episodes and then we didn't bleep on other of the episodes. So you're the editor.
I was? Wait.
Who was editing? Who was putting all those bleeps in
I
there?
thought that was a Cogarella thing.
Oh, don't get me started. Okay, so I think the modern thing always is, like if you look at the internet, people who have a show, it's always like, hey, what should we talk about? What do you like this thing that I'm doing? Yes or no? So I feel like I think the more popular shows, they kind of get the audience to tell us in the comments, what you want us to do, right? So we should just have them just tell us what to talk about, and then we'll talk about it. So you guys out there, here's your chance. Tell us the topic, and we're going to pick a topic from our audience and do it, right?
Nothing's happening. I think it's because we're not doing it live. We're in the middle of recording right now, so.
God, we should have told them earlier, right? Like before we started recording, what we
should have recorded this earlier in the day.
Yeah, earlier.
Yeah, like an hour earlier, so that when we were actually ready to record an hour later, we would already have the topics. Isn't that how it works? You just record it, you just put it onto tape or whatever we do, and then it just happens within an hour.
No, I don't. Does it?
I don't know. I'm asking you.
I'm not sure. So I guess it's too late to get comments from people to tell us what to talk about.
That sounds like maybe it's a thing that we should put in the end. We'll put that in the end.
We'll put that in the end and say, hey, tell us what we should have talked about.
And then
this show.
We'll come back in an hour and we'll record the next episode.
Well, okay, so we'll record it, but then we won't have anything for the previous episode, right? The episode that we asked them, it's too late.
You're giving me a headache.
Giving myself a headache. All right. So we have all sorts of notes and things, right? Things that we could talk about.
I can't believe that this text message is all from an entire day of texting. God damn, I text a lot. No wonder I have arthritis in my thumbs.
Yeah. And the thing is that I have like spicy brains. And it is hard for me sometimes to fully pay attention to all those texts. Halfway through one text, I've already checked out and forgot what I was reading.
The cripes! Here's chapter 3 of what he's texting. I'm done. I'm out.
And I'll go have dinner, and I'm like, oh, he's still texting? We were in the middle of a conversation, I guess. I didn't realize there could be any more to be said, but yes, here it is. Another novel.
Let's go over the footnotes, I guess.
Yes,
footnotes. Let's throw that all in the trash.
The footnotes for the potential topics, right?
All right, sure.
Mm-hmm. I mean, one of the things where I guess I don't know if we want to be as topical as to say we're in a brand new year. We could say that, can't we?
I guess. Are we? Is the show? Now I know it's like, is this the show was in so many different universes. One universe was a foot to the left. One was.
Was it just a foot to the left, or was it 2 feet to the left?
I don't know.
How many feet to the left?
I think it was 1, 2, cha 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 to the left.
The universe, was it only a foot to the left?
I don't know. I just read the title.
I don't know. 3 feet to the left? Is that like a whole different universe?
My answer to that is: Are we in that universe? Is this a prequel to that universe? Is this a prequel to the prequel to the prequel? Is this a complete reboot? Is this a complete restart?
Is it a reboot to the prequel?
Do I have to put parentheses over the goddamn numbers again, just so we know where we're at?
I'm not
sure. Do I have to have letters in the numbers?
Oh God, A. This is 1A.
This is 1A.
How many?
This is 1 to the power of A.
Alien squared. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, could there be parallel franchises where there is several different concurrent versions of the podcast all competing with each other? You know how we're going to have like 5 Batmen all at the same time?
Maybe. Is it like the He-Man universe? Like
we could
all the He-Man exists right now.
We should just do like 5 totally distinctly different versions of the podcast and then see which one is the most compete with ourselves and then see which one wins out.
We're supposed to be in here's current news. Mm-hmm. We're supposed to be in a parallel universe right now, or discovered parallel universes.
Oh yeah?
There are 2 versions of the story that I heard. The one version of the story I heard is that in Antarctica they found particles that are believed to be a part of parallel universe. Uh-huh. And in another article that I've seen is that they've created a Pentium processor that processes so fast that it can communicate to other parallel universes. So how do we know that we're just not a facsimile of ourselves? And we already did this.
How do they know that they just made a computer so fast that it became schizophrenic?
I don't know. It's branding.
Yeah, 6 1 half a dozen.
Yeah, buy this computer. You can talk to another universe. It's AI.
That's right.
Sorry, no, wait, I said that out loud. It's AI.
It's not crazy. It's just AI. I mean, didn't we learn anything from 2001? I mean, Hal just went crazy and tried to kill everybody. It just immediately just distrusted humans and tried to kill everyone on the Discovery. That's what happens in that movie.
I think I can get behind that.
I think AI is interesting because that's one of the topics that we have on here that we could talk about is AI.
Do we want to talk about AI?
I mean, we could.
I feel like we can write AI and have AI speak for us.
I mean, at least they'd have an idea for the show. Actually, they wouldn't have an idea because AI is just a good guesser.
Right.
It has no interest or it has no interest and or belief in the outcome. Thank you for the water. It hasn't any sort of it doesn't care how it turns out. It has no investment in it being good or bad. So it really is just like when you ask a kid to study for a test, or do a book report. It's just guessing. It's just grabbing from wherever and looking at other people's papers, looking what other people did, maybe trying to find the answers, maybe steal a copy of the answer book. And then they're giving it to you, but they didn't read that book. They don't really care if they just want an A. And actually, they don't even want an A. They just want a pass.
Basically me in high school. D equals diploma.
Right.
I'm out of here, guys. See you on the flip side.
Right.
2 years later. Welcome to McDonald's. Can I take your order,
Oh, God. So, that I think is the thing about AI. One of the things I don't understand about AI is that, again, you're giving all this power to something that doesn't care about the outcome. The other thing about it is that we're letting. Why are we still working? The computers are singing songs for us and making art for us and having conversations with our families for us. And doing all our most human things.
And meanwhile, I'm still at McDonald's. Thank you for your order. I have your order.
Right. We're just doom scrolling and working and worrying about money, and all the computers are having
doom scrolling the AI crap.
And all the computers are having. Yes, we're checking in on all our wonderful AI friends who are doing all these fun things. So yeah, that's the part about it that I don't like.
I feel like we could almost do an entire episode. We tie down. We grab one of these AI bots. We tie him down to a chair.
Yeah.
And we do the whole like was it Clockwork Orange where we pry its eyes open and we make it listen to. I guess we would have to pry its ears open.
Yes, pry
and
its
make it
ears
listen
open.
to
Yes,
all 140 some episodes of the episode,
147 and or 195 episodes.
Sure, and have it barf out an hour long episode.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
this episode presented by AI.
We could do that. At least that would be someone listening to our podcast.
Yeah. It would count as a view. It would count as 197 views. Or sorry, listens.
140 and or 197 listens.
That will get us 3 cents in ad revenue.
This idea is sounding better and better all the time.
We're coming out Millhouse here.
And then we get a whole nother episode out of it without having to come up with any ideas for ourselves. So I think I think we're on a good job.
And I don't think not counting the angry video game nerd and not counting like South Park and everything else, I think we would be original and the first ones to ever do that ever. As long as we don't count the other people that already did it.
As long as we don't count all the people who've already done it. And I think what's really interesting is, like, I would love to know what an AI would do because our podcast rarely stays on topic, on format, makes any sense. I feel like the AI would just kill itself after listening to all of our...
The AI would be like the RoboCop 2 where it just pulls off its head and then just shoots itself.
Yeah. Right, exactly. That's exactly what would happen.
It would be, and then I kind of feel like we would have a lot of I gave you like the AI wrap-ups of like the Bestow TV stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, Mr. Lobo says, and then it's like none of your catchphrases.
No, that was really bizarre.
Like, where did he get all this stuff?
Whatever, Hunt's ketchup. Hunt's good with garlic. Yeah, like Mr. Lobo always says. Yeah, I don't remember what it was, but it didn't make any sense.
You're like, maybe I should use that catchphrase. Maybe it knows something.
God. But in reality, it's just going to pull its head off and go, all right. Well, I guess when we come back, either us or AI duplicates of us will actually be talking about something. We'll hope.
So you're saying I am a decoy? Or will be a decoy?
We might both be.
Hey, Mr. Lobo. I'm trying to buy a Mummy and the Monkey t-shirt for Miss Mittens, and I'm having trouble getting on the OSI 74 shop.
Well, first thing, Paul, you're staring at a blank page. We don't have our store Etsy or ePay shops anymore. We have a Square site now.
Well, that's good because my monitor's square. Actually, it's more like a rectangle. Will it work on rectangles?
Secondly, we don't have the Mummy and the Monkey shirts on our site, okay? They have their own stuff. The OSI 74 shop is where you're going to find all our official in-house Outer Space International merchandise. The OSI 74 astronaut t-shirts, stickers, patches, posters, autographed Cinema Insomnia DVDs, and all our CI stuff like Mr. Lobo's coloring book and the Monster Match card game. I mean, you can even get a glow-in-the-dark Mr. Lobo shirt.
Huh. And what about stuff from the other OSI 74 shows?
Well, the OSI 74 Square site is also a hub to jump off to other shows and on-demand items for many of the weird, retro, and fun programs on our OSI 74 Roku channel. But if you're looking to buy a gift, why don't you keep it in the family and get a glow-in-the-dark Miss Mittens t-shirt for the Mummy and the Monkey?
I hate to be the one to break it to you, but they don't really watch your show. But I'll take a 62 triple extra large shirt. Can I get the producer's discount on that?
Don't be like Paul. Visit our shop at osi74.square.site.
So perhaps we should have...
By the way, did this list... Did AI make this list, or did you?
You accused me of using AI to create this list. Honestly, I'm thinking maybe we should just use AI to create an audience. Maybe we could just have an audience of AI.
We just make 1,000 AI audience.
Make 1,000 AI audiences.
We duplicate. Hold on, where's our Patreon sponsors? We duplicate Michael Housel,
John McCallum,
and we make
Anita,
thousands. We make thousands of
Kelly
clones of them.
Cosmac and Matap.
We have to get them to sign off on it, though. I think, don't we?
No, you just steal them.
Steal them?
They're duplicates.
It's AI. You just steal, right?
It's AI, right? They wouldn't have the same names or anything. you know, and they would have like 11 fingers on each hand or whatever, so
Right.
they wouldn't quite be the same.
I mean, you're telling me you made this list, and you claim that there's no AI involved. But what does long distance driving? Where did that? What's that supposed to mean?
I mean, it's something that we both do that we could talk about. We've both driven long distances, haven't we?
Okay, so let's do an episode of long distance driving. Ready? All right.
This is Mr. Lobo.
Yep.
You're listening to the Sleepless Knights
Yep.
podcast, and tonight we're talking about long distance driving. Paul, you like to drive a lot, don't you, in your car?
Oh yeah, I just drove to get here. All right, I'm good to go. Let's go. Good night.
Dun 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 dun. Ba-da,
Yeah, I don't know. Can we fill an hour with that? I mean, my drive is 2
we
hours.
filled 15 minutes with total nothingness just now. So my answer is, I guess it doesn't matter what the topic is. We would probably get somewhere. We would either start there or go somewhere else.
Well, I mean, that's the whole point of long distance driving is you start somewhere and you get somewhere else.
That's true. I mean, like, I'll give you an example. Like when
Okay.
I was driving long distances, so one of the things that
Oh, so
I
this is
noticed
going to be a topic
from
now.
town to town. No, not necessarily.
Okay.
But from town to town in different places,
Mm-hmm.
you can tell just by the like the buildings that are there, how the people dress, like what year that town peaked. Like, you know, you look at these ladies and their hairstyles or whatever, and you're like, oh, 1995.
Mm-hmm.
This is when it was great to live in this town because no one evolved past that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever. You go into the gas station, people got their wraparound sunglasses on or their rat tails or whatever they've got.
I want to know where you're driving because I think I want to drive to these places. Wherever I go, it's either 1950s or Centralia, and there's like 2 houses in Centralia, and that's it. So,
Wow. But that's cool, though.
no, it's hot because it's an underground fire.
Yeah, but you get to play the home version of Silent Hill.
I guess. Okay, kids, hold your breath. Roll them up.
Yeah, roll them up. Is right.
I do have a Centralia story.
Yeah, let's hear it.
We had I worked on a movie and they needed to wreck a car and they're like,
wow.
they took us they allowed us to go up into a dead part part of the highway that's up
Yeah.
in Centralia
Yeah.
and just wreck the shit out of this car
Oh,
because
that's awesome.
nobody gave a crap.
Wow.
It wasn't anywhere where it needed to be.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yep. Dun dun
Dun,
dun
dun,
dun.
dun, dun. I mean, I'm just saying that if we had workshopped it, I mean, not just pulling it out of our tailpipe like we're doing now, that long distance driving, along with any of the other topics, could be explored enough to have an hour's worth of content about, or maybe not an hour's worth, maybe just one segment about.
Okay. Like dangerous things that we did as kids.
Dangerous things that we did as kids. Yes. I mean, gosh, there was...
What would that episode sound like? All right, ready? And
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
You're listening to the Sleepless Knights pODDcast. I'm Mr. Lobo, and gosh, you know, I'm a proud Gen Xer. You know, you ever see those proud Gen Xers? They're like, oh, we drank from the hose, and oh, we were out until 4 a.m. and our parents didn't know where they were, and they're so proud of this, right? Mm-hmm. It's somehow that we have somehow robbed a generation of neglect somehow.
Oh, I just did something dangerous about an hour ago.
Yeah, what was that?
Dun 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 dun.
All right. Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah, okay.
You know, I mean, dangerous things that we did as kids. I mean, I remember like jumping off of the roof of my house.
Okay.
I remember.
I think we all did that.
Throwing myself down the stairs,
Holding a blanket, trying to parachute.
Trying to be Chevy Chase. I threw myself down the stairs. Live from New York. It's Saturday night.
And you're like, where's my live studio audience? Why isn't anybody cheering?
How come I can't feel my leg?
Why is my arm bent that way?
Yeah. So yeah, I used to throw myself down the stairs. I remember one time. I jumped off the big toy. We called it the big toy in on the playground. You know, where there's all the jungle gyms and stuff.
Sure.
The thing with all the slides and ropes that come off of it, that was always the big toy. Mm-hmm. And I remember, I don't know if I was trying to jump out and grab the rope, or I don't remember what it was, but I fell right on my chin and split my chin open. And it's weird, like in those days, like, just walk it off.
Just walk it off.
You know, like, You know, you
My ankle's bent the opposite way. Now walk it off. Walk it off or you're getting a beating.
Walk it off, you're getting a beating.
You want to paddling? You better walk it off.
Setting things on fire in the backyard. We used to crash toy cars. We fill them with ants and insects. So we have to because you have to have casualties.
Right.
Fire isn't enough.
Right. Imagination's not enough.
Bodies everywhere. So we would put ants or bugs in these cars and we crash them into each other and set them on fire. I put an M80 in my radio-controlled R2-D2 and blew him up and tried to film it with an 8mm camera. I think I told that story, right? And then, like, when I developed the film, I was trying to like overcrank it so that the explosion would be slow, like a Star Wars explosion. But I got confused as to what direction I was supposed to crank it. So I think I was doing like 12 frames a second. So like R2-D2 standing there. And then he's gone. Like the explosion just doesn't even happen. Throwing toys in the swimming pool. I tried to swim like the man from Atlantis with my arms to my side and wriggling my body, you know, and swimming face first. And I smashed my chin again. Always the chin.
The same chin.
Same chin into the
not the other chin
into the ground of the swimming pool, right?
Mm-hmm. And it depends. Was it with the hard, or was it the plastic swimming pool, or was it the gravelly?
No,
you rip up your feet walking on the.
It was the concrete
cement
swimming pool. Yeah. So, but yeah, I was trying to swim like me. I had to have yellow swim trunks because I wanted to be like the man, Patrick Duffy, man from Atlantis, and I was trying to swim like him. He swam like a fish with his arms to his sides, and then like the pool is like at an incline. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So the floor of the pool isn't always in the same place. So I just went right into
You went for it.
Yeah.
I'm just going for it.
So, but you don't think that dangerous things, you know, lawn darts, shooting missiles into your mouth, none of those things. You don't think that there's enough dangerous things?
You're just calling out things that I did like an hour ago, and the reason why we didn't ask that question an hour ago is because we had to go to the ER to get this stuff dislodged out of my throat. I mean, I wasn't necessarily a kid. I was older, so I was college age.
Yeah.
But one of my kind of first jobs was selling knives. The whole scam of where you had to go and train to sell knives, and they would pay you. They would pay you hourly. By not paying you hourly, you had to make a commission and stuff, but you had to buy all these knives, so it was a total freaking scam. Because by the time you bought all the knives, you had to work it off to get that to at least break even, or most of us were kids, so we were all borrowing our money from our moms and dads, so we got to pay them back.
Oh God!
But one of the things were that these knives were so sharp.
Yeah.
That we had discovered that if you throw, because one of the things you could do, not with the knives, but the scissors that came there, you would cut a penny with the scissors and make a corkscrew, and that was one of the demonstrations that you would do.
Yeah.
But we also discovered that the knives were so sharp that you could take them and you could swing them at a 2-liter and cut it in half.
Oh, Jesus.
And so we were doing that a lot. So
cutting a 2-liter bottle in half just with swinging at it.
We're swinging at it. So it was like, so I'm bragging to my roommates. It's like, oh yeah, this is what we could do. Let's go outside and we'll take this 2-liter bottle and you could throw it up in the air and I'll just swing down at it. And they throw it up in the air and I go and I swing down at it and the knife is down here and I'm like, and I go to pull and I'm like,
oh no.
And I'm looking down and it's like, right next to my leg. I had cut through the point, gone through the leg and through the pants, the pant leg. Oh, God. This is why I don't wear pants. It went through the pant leg, but didn't hit the leg. The tension was the pants were stuck on the thing, so I thought it was lodged in the bone, and I thought I was going to the ER. But that was a total dumbass moment, and I never did that again except for last week.
I remember we were fencing in school, and I had the
you were selling watches.
It was not selling watches. We were fencing. Not that kind of fencing. We had swords, foils, swords, and we had you had like the padded vests and the swords and the helmets, but they gave you these helmets that were for adults, so they were real big on you, you know. And I guess it's supposed to be a one-size-fits-all thing, but usually your fencing outfit is somewhat tailored to you. Mm-hmm. And you've got this mask that's sort of real loose, and you've got this vest that doesn't quite fit you right, and then they give you a sword, and then I think they put there's supposed to be like a thing on the end of the sword.
Sword, they're welded on. I actually did fence. So.
But they lost that thing, so they just put like a metal wad of tape or something on the end of it.
Cork.
And it just did not. It was not. So it was still super dangerous. So we're slashing at each other, and my sword gets broken in half. And because I'm wearing the mask, I can't even see my sword anymore. So I've got no defense because I've got half a sword. And then the other kid strikes at me. The sword bends up against my chest, goes up my mask, and slices me right under the eye. It's crazy. It was crazy. I could have lost my freaking eye for, what, junior, what do you call it? Not elementary school. What is it? Middle school fencing. I could have lost my eye. Anyway.
And that's how it's written on the legal documents?
But you don't think that there's enough to talk about dangerous things we did when we were kids?
There might be enough. There might be, but we're like halfway through an episode.
You're making fun of my list, and I feel like that you and I could talk about any of these things.
Like what?
Okay, I'm looking at the list now. Uh-huh. Look, best and worst candy, stop motion animation.
Best and worst candy. All right.
Best and worst.
Ready? Best and worst candy. Ready? In 3, 2, 1.
You're listening to the Sleepless Knights podcast. I'm Mr. Lobo, and to my right and or left is Paul Sanders, and we're talking about the worst and or best candy. Paul, do you have a favorite candy?
Oh, I just drove for 2 hours. Mike and Ike's yum, and the other colors of Mike and Ike's yuck.
Bum, 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 da, 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 da. You've been listening to the Sleepless Knights podcast. Not good nor plenty. All right. Well, okay.
I mean,
I feel like that strong.
I feel like that's almost like our movie episode where it's like we can't find our favorite movie and our least favorite movie because it constantly changes. I feel like candy's the same way.
I mean, it is, but it isn't. But there's a couple of things like with candy. The thing is like it's an interesting thing because it's so ubiquitous. Candy's everywhere. I'm known for liking red vines a lot. Twizzlers is Rob's favorite, and we always fight on that. Okay, and he'll actually sneak Twizzlers, or he'll buy me red vines for fun, or whatever, vice versa, or we'll duel with red vines versus Twizzlers, or try to make a straw out of a red vine versus making it out of a Twizzler. And my argument is that not that the Twizzlers are terrible and red vines are good, but I love red vines. I grew up on red vines. Twizzlers came later. I'm a little older than Rob, maybe. No, I don't think I'm older than Rob, but I also think Twizzlers are red vines are somewhat more West Coast.
Yeah, because I've never had red vines until I've been around you.
More West Coast. I think that's probably the big issue. But the point of it is that it's not that it's better or worse. It's just that when you're like, oh, I want a red vine. Oh, here, I have a Twizzler. It's like it's not an exchangeable commodity. Right. It doesn't satisfy my need for a red vine, which to me is like soft and chewy. And whereas I
feel like they kind of had a minty taste to them.
What, a red vine?
Yeah.
No.
When I have them here, they taste like a minty. I don't know where you're
Maybe
keeping
your
them.
Your palate is doing something to it.
I don't know where you're keeping them. But.
It does. Whereas I feel like a Twizzler is a little more fruity, perhaps, but it's also more waxy and hard. So they don't have a similar texture, and I don't think they have a similar flavor. The only thing that they share is that they're red ropes. That's it. All right. So I guess maybe you're right. Maybe that's not very interesting. So we'll try to regroup. We'll go out to a commercial. We'll look this list over, and we'll come back. It's too bad we didn't have suggestions from the audience. I think.
What? Two more stops, and then we can ask for suggestions.
All right.
For an episode we'll probably never record.
They won't hear it.
Mr. Lobo here at Times Square for the Sleepless Knights podcast. We are ready to light up our jumbo scoreboard, and thanks to your monthly support, our total number of patrons comes to... maybe the sign's broken.
Maybe they don't know that you can pledge monthly now. Patrons also get to hear the show a week ahead of everyone else.
People, as you know, the Sleepless Knights podcast hosted by Mr. Lobo of Cinema Insomnia and that pantsless producer over here, Paul Sanders of Bestow TV, is weird, fun, experimental, obtuse, and thought-provoking. If quality programs mean something to each of you, and you enjoy being a fly on the wall for our 3 a.m. conversations, please support the show monthly on Patreon. Take out your phones right now, patreon.com/Sleepless Knights podcast. Now that's only 1D in podcast, even though we still emphasize the odd.
Hey, where's everyone going?
They're all going home to sign up with us on Patreon.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, all right, we're moving down the list. Do you have some other ones you want to look at?
Yeah. How about this? Is what this one really stuck out. Taste test between similar items.
All right,
Ready? All right. Let's try this. Right. 3, 2, 1.
Da-na-na-na-na. You're listening to the Sleepless Knights podcast. I'm Mr. Lobo, and to my right and or left is Paul, the pantsless producer. And today we're talking about 2 items that taste similar. What do you think?
Oh, I just drove through 2 hours to get here, and I drank this thing and this thing that don't taste the same. They just tasted the same. Bump, 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 bump.
Oh, that's right. Bump, 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 bump. Okay. I mean, the thing is, okay.
I guess similar item, what, like Dr. Pibb and Mr. Lightning?
Mr. Prune and Professor Plum.
I mean, is that what you're trying to?
No, okay.
What was the implication of this AI generated?
Well, I guess I sort
sentence?
of went there a little bit with Twizzlers versus Red Vines, but like Coke versus Pepsi, there is such a small degree difference between a Coke and a Pepsi. Like one has, I think, lime rind, one has
cocaine.
No, take the cocaine out. One has orange rind, one has lime rind. But similar amounts of everything else. If you've got the corn syrup versions. I think one's a little more carbonated, one's less. But people have like a very violent defense of, oh God, what you have a Coke? I'm on a Pepsi, or vice versa.
They did it on themselves. They had the whole cola wars in the 80s. A lot of bloodshed.
That's true. We did have the cola wars in the 80s, and a lot of people fought and died for that. And then they came along with New Coke, and then everyone hated it, and so they brought back the classic Coke, which they didn't really bring back the classic Coke. They brought back a totally different beverage, which
didn't they change the formula?
They changed it anyway and brought it back as.
But even I was going to say, even in regionally, isn't Coke sweeter in Mexico than it is here? It's like the same brand of Coke, but they put more sugar or real
sugar in a Mexican Coke, which
a lot of people prefer.
I prefer because it has sort of a cleaner finish. Whereas, I feel like a American Coke has kind of almost a sticky finish to it, The corn syrup.
That sounds like my name in high school.
Sticky finish. Oh no. I mean, ketchup is sort of like that, I think that there are a lot of similar, I don't know. I just feel like people have there's always these things about who has the best French fries, or who has the best whatever, who has the best chicken nuggets. And I don't know if there's, there are differences, but I feel like they're very similar. I feel like a lot of those things are sort of like a who cares kind of argument, But maybe that's not enough to talk about for now.
I was going to say, is it an hour long who cares argument? I mean, I guess we could generate a list and...
I feel like if we, again, workshopped it properly instead of you just dragging it out just to insult me in the middle of the podcast, I feel like if we actually thought it completely through, that there might be a lot of things, similar brands, similar products. A lot of times the generic product is the same as the main brand product.
Usually it's made by the same company.
It's just
the Wise brand is just whatever.
Yeah, it's one of the brands. You might not know which brand it is, and it might not be the top of their, you know what I mean? It might be the when they're making it at the factory, it's got to hit a certain amount of, in a certain flavor profile. Maybe it doesn't quite make that. And they're like, okay, well, then that will be the generic or whatever. Or
you'd think I'd have an answer to this because I used to work at the ice cream factory for Wise for a long time, and we made the generic, and we made the
you
Wise
made the Wise brand, and then
we also had we were one of the first ones to have what is it, caramel caribou, and there was I can't think of they're all like moose names. There was like the
Moose Tracks.
There was Moose Tracks. There was caramel caribou, and then there was peanut butter Iditarod. They were all themed.
Wow.
But we had the license from like Hershey's to do that because Hershey's also made that.
Interesting. That's interesting. I had a friend who worked, and I think I may have told this story on the pODDcast, but I had a friend who worked at a pizza factory, and they made the pizza for Mama Celeste, Tombstone, and Red Baron, and they made all three brands with the same cheese and the same sauce and the same dough. Mm-hmm. So it was just different proportions of the same product to make the different types, but like they would make one kind of pizza all day, and then they would send that particular configuration to the West Coast as Red Baron, and then to the Midwest as Mama Celeste, and then to the East Coast as Tombstone, and then switch and make another kind of pizza, and then switch it up again to where that's now the Red Baron for the East Coast. So that I thought was really interesting, where it's like, oh, well, this is just all the same crap in different configurations, and then if you have a Red Baron on the West Coast, it doesn't even look the same as the Red Baron on the East Coast. Right. So there's that, right? Hellman's mayonnaise versus Miracle Whip,
right?
Or not Miracle Whip. Hellman's mayonnaise versus Best Foods, right? We have Hellman's out here, right? We don't have Best Foods.
I'm thinking, well, there's the Best Brands or Best something that's Walmart brand, but
okay, yeah, Best Foods is what Hellman's mayonnaise is called on the West Coast. Yeah. But, everybody thinks they have the best, whatever it is. Coffee's another one too. Like coffee and guacamole are two things where it's like, this is the best coffee, and it's like, yeah, you can have terrible coffee and you can have really good coffee, but everyone who makes the coffee themselves thinks they make the best coffee. Same with guacamole. It's like you're just mashing up avocados. Somehow you're some kind of genius because you can make it better than anybody else, only because you just got that extra pride of making it yourself.
And remember to put in the filter.
We had a collision here in the studio where I'm like trying to get ready real fast.
And I'm here.
And Paul's here. And Paul doesn't drink coffee, by the way. And I'm quickly trying to make myself some coffee. And I pour the water in it. I put the grounds in it, but I don't put the basket in it with the filter. So there's no basket, there's no filter, and it just starts filling over with. Actually, I might have put the paper filter in. I just didn't put the basket in.
Yeah, I think because you came out of the bathroom and you're like the basket. You're like, well, you pick up the basket like sitting on the other side of the room, and you're like, oh God, oh geez, oh God, oh geez.
And then it starts overflowing, and then we end up like grabbing a cooler and having to drop the whole coffee maker into a cooler to catch all of the coffee. And the coffee's pouring all over the counter and getting the garbage bags wet, and getting the floor wet, and all over the microwave. It was so awful. And I'm late. I'm supposed to go to work or something at Cackleberry or something.
And how did that coffee taste in comparison to the leading brand?
We've secretly switched coffee with watery grounds from the floor. Let's see if
this has been scooped out of a random cooler.
Yeah.
Let's see if Mr. Lobo notices.
Mr. Lobo notices. I mean, honestly, like I never even got to try that coffee. That coffee just all went down the sink or in the trash.
I don't even think you had enough time to even make a new one. I think you just went right to work.
And it was like, I can't remember if it was Black Friday or something.
Yeah.
But it was like, there was not a breath of time. I couldn't get a soda out of the soda machine. I never had a water. I just ended up working all day long without any sort of break, without any coffee, feeling sluggish. It sucked.
Well, with this stream of conscience, I think we can now, like, so when we finally do some of these that we
Yeah.
listed. Now we'll have a number with a bullet point subtext underneath. So it'll be episode 139, bullet point A, 1A, coffee. You think that's how
You
we
think
should?
they'll skip through like, oh, I want to hear what they say about coffee?
I mean, maybe this is the multiversal question.
Chapters.
So like let's look in the future. 152. That's
Yeah.
on our anniversary.
Yeah.
Is it 152?
I don't know.
I don't know. Anyway, in the future.
152 and or 197.
Sure. We dropped 5 episodes.
Yeah.
But depending on if you're on the West Coast or if you're on the East Coast,
yeah.
you might get the coffee episode.
That's
you
a
might
great
get
idea.
you might get the how long does it take you to drive somewhere episode.
And then we switch the numbering, so then the episode after that is actually the episode before that for the other person.
And
other
then,
place.
and then to confuse it even more, then we just have like a math equation for the numbering for people to figure out.
Yeah, they could use their decoder ring perhaps
there
to
you
figure
go.
out what
There you
episode
go.
it is. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess again, I don't know. I feel like that these were all. I mean, I was trying to give us some stuff to work from.
I know. I think we're working through the best of it, like how to pick up chicks. The best of the best. This is like hard hitting. 3, 2,
1. You're listening to the Sleepless Knights podcast, baby. I'm your host, Mr. Lobo. Are you feeling foxy? Do you need a man in your life? Well, you've come to the right place because we're hoping to pick up some chicks. And for those of you guys out there, you bachelors, if you're looking to pick up chicks, or perhaps you ladies who'd like to pick up chicks, because there are ladies who like chicks. So let's get to it, folks. And I hope you're ready to get out of your horny box, because here comes the snake. Bum, 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 bum. Da, na, 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 na. You've been listening to the Sleepless Knights podcast. Da, na,
I feel like that was our best episode ever. I don't think we actually need to cover it now. I think we hit the peak on that one.
Dun, 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 dun.
Shart.
Shart. Now I'm saying shart for some reason. Shart. All right. Well, fine, Paul. Everything's got to be so negative with you.
Oh, I know. Was it? Was it though? Was it really?
Let's see here. All right. What were some of the other things on here that you thought that we could talk about?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't read this list.
I mean, there's the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. There's Godzilla movies. There's answer songs, right?
Yeah.
That would take a little bit of research.
Yeah, I feel like that those are things that I think are top of the line.
Yeah.
Or at least something we could feed to AI.
Cool record finds, like we found that Lauren Gray album. That was pretty.
Right.
That was pretty cool.
We found that in your collection.
Yeah. Well, I found it at Cackleberry. But the whole point of it is that we got a lot of mileage out of that. We got a lot of mileage out of something we'd never heard of before.
Yes. A lot of mileage. Even every time that the studio breaks down, we get a lot more mileage out of it.
Yeah. Every time that the computer crashes or the stream stalls, it's like, yep, putting the night on hold. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun.
10 Commandments of Mr. T.
The 10 Commandments of Mr. T. Yep, the Muppet Babies album.
That even all that looped around because you just got a bunch of records on the stream not too terribly long ago.
Mm-hmm. I did.
That we riffed off of.
Yeah. I think and people were like, oh, you should just do this as a regular thing. So if we were to do it on the podcast, what might be fun would be you could pick up some thrift store records. I could pick up some thrift store records, and then
we concede and just play music to torture your ears by.
Music to suffer by.
Another thing that got mileage.
Rats in my room. Rats in my room. Ladies and gentlemen, have your attention. In this envelope, I have a list of our current Patreon sponsors. Yep, there they all are. Thank you. What? I'm supposed to read them out loud? Okay. These current Uber fans' names are to be read out loud. John McCallum. John? John, are you here? Present? No? Okay. Cosmac. Cosmac. Cosmac? All right. Not here. Kelly. Kelly DeMall, are you here? Kelly? Kelly? All right. Anita Rivnik. Honey? You here? Did your mom drop you off? No? Okay. Metap? Metap. Matap? Meetap. Matap? All right. I'll defer to your pronunciation. Michael Housel. Michael Housel? Michael Housel going once? Twice? Okay, Michael's not here either. All right, then. And we also have our current super fans, who I also have a list of, but I know you're not here, so I'm not going to say them out loud. Last chance to upgrade your Uber fan to super fan tier before December 1st. What? That's outdated. What? It says December 1st, not a year. How do I know that it's old? And why all the fake whispering? You're creeping me out. And we're back with segment 4, Sleepless Knights podcast. My gosh, we did not talk about a lot of things, or almost talk, or sort of talk about a lot of things on this list.
What did you mean about we can talk about movies with rubbers? Why are we talking about movies with rubbers?
Paul, it doesn't say rubbers. It says movies with rubber monsters. You know, like
I had to scan. I'm sorry, I didn't scroll far enough to read
Gremlins and Ghoulies, right? You know, Mac and Me.
So they were made with Trojans? Is that what you wanted to talk about?
No, they were probably Magnums, more than likely.
Bum, 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 bum.
You've been listening to the Sleepless Knights podcast, or should I say pODDcast.
Podcast. Sorry, I had my mouthful of water when you did that.
I think, like, you know, I do think that that's a whole genre. Like, you know, there was such a boon of, like, practical effects in the 80s that is sort of lost. Like, how much, like, speaking of Trojans, how much KY jelly and latex did they use in the 80s to make movies? A lot.
And that's just behind the scenes.
Yeah,
that's not even.
That's just casting. That's just
this is how we got canceled in the fourth segment.
No, but I think that is kind of really interesting, and I'm trying to think of, like, there is sort of a weird spot of, like, where did that? I mean, I guess Star Wars in a weird way opened the door because the cantina sequence and some of these movies, like, okay, we can have latex, you know, monsters with latex.
We can
out of latex.
have a bunch of monsters. Let's go down to the Spencer's and pick up a bunch of monsters because we have to shoot a cantina. Isn't that why, like, a lot of those monsters have been edited out?
I guess because a lot of them were I think that Rick Baker got sick, or whoever was doing the effects got sick.
Because then they edited out that stupid werewolf, but then they used the werewolf currently. So again, I don't know how to feel about that. Am I supposed to like the werewolf? Am I not supposed to remember the werewolf?
Yeah, I mean, that could be a whole. I mean, if we are talking about Star Wars, that could be a whole situation, because it's like I've come back to just not really appreciating any of the additions or changes to Star Wars. Like, I kind of feel like there is some sanctity to this is how they made it, and they put it out that way to be that way, and you can't just keep changing the source material because you want to take it another direction.
Sure.
dun 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 dun. You know,
Yeah. I mean, now you watch Skeleton Crew. Is the Wolf Monster and some of the other people, are they practical or are they CG?
Oh no, he just seems like a guy in a wolf mask. Yeah,
He's just chilling in a wolf mask.
He's just a guy chilling in a wolf mask. I love the fact that although they kind of dropped it, but they brought up Crimson Jack from Marvel Comics, which was cool. But I was kind of hoping it would be more. I mean, it might later, but it seems like it was just sort of a name drop.
I feel like that what I had saw about that, I haven't watched it yet, but what I saw was that it was just an alias that he was using. So it's like here's a list of in-universe names that you could probably
it was cool though because it kind of acknowledged something. You know, that is a thing that it is kind of, especially for my generation of Star Wars, those 3 years between movies. You know, I mean, nowadays there's all these series and things and special editions, but in those days it was like there was the comic strip, the Sunday comic strip. There was the Marvel Comics. Mm-hmm. There were a few novels. There was Han Solo at Star's End, right? Han Solo and the Lost Legacy.
I think so.
Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
Right.
There wasn't really a lot. Like to keep you invested 3 years between movies, you really were digging into that. What would you call that expanded universe?
Expanded universe.
Expanded universe material, and it definitely kind of set the tone and really kept you invested. The toys, even honestly, were a means of kind of reconnecting you to that material, so that you were constantly reminded that there's more to come, more story to come, more movies to come.
And then they don't do anything for years, and then they put out all those novels and reprint all those comics.
Yeah.
And then Disney buys it and is like, nope.
So, but I was looking at some of the Sunday strips, Al Williamson stuff and all that. Mm-hmm. It's like, God, that stuff was beautiful, and some of the Marvel stuff, even though the Marvel stuff was not as beautiful, although Al Williamson did do some stuff for Marvel too, but. Even though the Marvel stuff was not as cinematic and not as beautiful, we got so many adventures. You know, there were so many space pirates and so many monsters and so many things that they did and so many lightsaber battles. And, you know, I feel like there is something, I don't know. That's a topic into itself, the expanded universe
I'm
stuff.
like laughing to myself because we evolved from talking about rubber monsters to just talking about Star Wars. Like, it's just already, and I feel like that's how the episode would go. I mean, we would just end with that and we would just go bump bump, and then that's it.
Yeah, but I do feel like for the example, because they had a guy in a werewolf mask, I feel like that gave Marvel permission to have an 8-foot bunny or a 6-foot porcupine.
Yes,
you know, it's
the
like
damn bunny that George Lucas didn't like, ordered to have killed off, and then turn around and made Jar Jar Binks years later.
Yeah, seriously. Because honestly, that Jar Jar Binks is just dollar store Jackson.
Is it Jackson or Jackson?
I think it's Jackson.
JXXON.
JXXON. I would just say it's just Jackson. Yeah, but it could be Jackson.
They made a figure of him. I bought him.
I thought he was cool. Yeah, he's like
I've seen people do mods with him.
He's like the proto Bucky O'Hare, you know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's green. He's in space. I mean, he's just basically Bucky O'Hare.
In space? Well, no,
space.
Becky O'Hare is in space. So.
Yeah, Bucky O'Hare is in space. Yeah, you know, all that stuff is. But I guess what's interesting to me, I think, in those old days of, like, in a comic book, you can do any kind of monster you want, and it doesn't matter. And I think movies are now at that point where comic books were, where it's like, okay, if it's going to be CG anyway, it isn't going to be that much more to CG one kind of monster versus another kind of monster. Whereas in the feature films, and certainly in the 80s, it's like, can it be created out of latex? Is it going to be a stop motion? How are we going to achieve this monster? Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, if they felt like they couldn't achieve it, they either had to limit the monster in some way, change the design of the monster, or in the case of like Jabba the Hutt, they just dropped him from the first movie and then didn't bring him in until the third one. Mm-hmm. And honestly, everything they've done afterwards, even with CG, doesn't approach the scope and the artfulness of how it was done in the puppet was done in.
I mean, when you're talking art, you don't want a CGI maggot forcing itself upon Richie Cunningham's sister. You want that full frame, full motion.
Galaxy of Terror reference.
All is that what that is?
Yes.
Never saw it.
Bump, 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 bump. Yeah, I mean, certainly with a sleazy horror film, you want your slime and your gore and your giant slug rape to be really to be
You need to
practical.
sell that R rating. You need to sell that R rating.
gotta
You
be
can't sell that
practical.
R rating if it's a cell shaded CGI animated.
Do you remember that scene in? I think it was.
No.
Okay, I forgot which Star Trek it was, but it was I think Star Trek 6. I think it was early CG where there's blood floating around in space, like they get shot or something in the spaceship.
Which one's 6? 5 is the undiscovered country.
No, 5 is the one where they're seeing.
I'm asking you as if I'm not sitting in front of a
Row your boat. The one directed by Shatner where they challenge God at the end of the universe. That's 5.
But I think that's the
6,
undiscovered country.
No. Yeah, the Star Trek 5 is the Final Frontier, I think. Star Trek 6 is the Voyage, is the Undiscovered Country. 6 is the Undiscovered Country. And I believe that is the one that has the CG purple Klingon blood floating in space.
So everybody got their votes locked in? Because here's the official answer. Ready?
Okay.
All right. Star Trek 1 is the motion picture.
Motion picture, yep. Star Trek 2 is The
Wrath
Wrath
of
of
Khan.
Khan. Star Trek 3 is The Search for Spock. Star Trek 4 is The Voyage Home.
Correct. My favorite one.
Star Trek 5 is The Final Frontier.
Correct.
Star Trek 6 is The Undiscovered Country.
You got them right.
Yeah.
You did it.
Yay! Dun, 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 dun.
Now for the next generation.
Oh, no. There's,
Generations.
hold on. There's, First Contact, right?
No, Generations is the
Generations is first, then First Contact?
Then First Contact.
Oh, God.
And then Insurrection.
Insurrection.
And then Nemesis.
Nemesis, wow. The next generation, with as quality of a show as the Next Generation was, the movies didn't live up to some of the episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation. I feel like a lot of the episodes were more satisfying than those films were.
But you were saying about, is it floating blood?
Yeah, floating blood. I think it was purple blood. It was Klingon blood, and it was CG. And I remember that was so impressive, like at the time. And I think that's a good use, honestly, for CGI, because how do you show blood floating in zero gravity? That is a perfect thing for CGI. That's not something that would be very easy to do practically.
I like CG. A good use for CG is usually if it's on top of a practical effect to enhance the practical effect of something that it can't just accomplish.
I do think it is
because there's limitations of the practical effect, but there's limitations of the CGI too.
Yeah, that's true.
If you use a little bit of CGI, where it's not the whole darn thing.
Yeah. Well, and I think too. Yeah, I agree, and I think it's not necessarily needing to use both, but at least looking at it and going, this is better for this is better for that. I mean, it's interesting to me because like a movie like Jurassic Park, people are like, oh, they're all CGI, and it's like there's so many different techniques at work with Jurassic Park. There's 7 minutes of CGI, and then the rest of it is puppets and other things. Guys in costumes and puppets and. Perhaps even stop motion. I don't know.
Well, yeah, because the T-Rex for the most part is practical.
Yeah.
Except for when you see it full body or when it's like running or something.
Yeah.
But most of the time it's because
yeah.
they had problems because they actually got hit by a hurricane and that thing got so weighed down with the rain.
Oh God! Oh geez.
And it was like breaking down and.
Well, and that's another thing too. Like Bruce the shark from Jaws, he was a rubber shark with a mechanical body, but he was so broke down so much that they just minimized how much they used him in the movie, which made the movie better.
Right.
Same thing with Alien. You don't see the alien a whole lot in the film Alien, probably because that costume was very unwieldy, I would imagine. But it is a better film because there is a mystery that is created by not seeing too much of it. And I think one of the things with CGI is that it's always kind of tipping its hand because we see so much of the thing that there's no mystery to it. We become very familiar with it. Our eyes are fixed on it. We see every mistake. I think there is a little bit of value to kind of holding back, especially if it's something fantastic, and maybe letting the audience imagine a little bit more, because they're going to fill those gaps in.
We get fans that are upset if you recast an actor to play a younger version of themselves, but we also have maybe the same fans that get upset when you use CGI to de-age that actor to make them, to have them play themselves. That uncanny valley. Why did they have to have Mark Hamill come back and play Luke? But I'd also be outraged if they cast anybody else but Mark Hamill to play Luke.
Honestly, I'm at this point where I would love to see new actors play all those characters. I would love to see, and I grew up with Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill, and I think they're wonderful. And
they lived right down the street with you. Literally, you grew up with them. you were setting ants on fire and blowing up R2.
Ants on fire and blowing up R2. And I think that the biggest sin of all this stuff, and this is certainly stuff we tread over and over again, is that they waited too long for so many of these things.
Yeah.
And
there's always contract disputes, or I didn't want to get typecast, or
I really feel like it's like, find somebody who just wants to be this character and give us some stories.
Get Tom Hanks' brother to voice it for everything else. Have Tom Hanks do the main movies and have his brother do all the video games and TV shows. And
because again, like in the comic books, we got to see Han Solo have so many adventures with Chewbacca. We got to see R2 have so many adventures with 3PO. We got to see Luke Skywalker swinging his lightsaber through pirates and swamp people and robots and all sorts of stuff. Mm-hmm. And in those movies, it's like we just get that little thimble full of them that we get every 3 years or 20 years. And I just feel like the stories and the characters are really the most important thing, not necessarily star power.
Right. And going back to the rubber mask, none of these people want to be in a rubber mask.
Yeah.
You can't even put them in a helmet. They have to have that helmet off.
That's an interesting thing to mention, too, as far as Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. They made it's not rubber. What is it made out of? It's...
Silicone?
Silicone, yeah. They made a silicone mask of Harrison Ford, and you think it's a CG Harrison Ford, but it's really just somebody wearing a stuntman wearing a silicone Harrison Ford mask, and it looks
and I believe
exactly
they
like
said
Harrison
that's another
Ford.
Example of limited CG, where if they did do CG on it, it was very, very limited.
Yeah. So that's really interesting. I think that because the level of model making and mask making and all of these things that are practical have been enhanced by the existence of computers. Mm-hmm. So you're not competing with the same rubber masks from the 80s with your CGI. There is more room to do practical effects that people will tell you, oh, that's all CG.
Right.
Like those like the Mad Max, the new Mad Max movies. That's always the big complaint, is that it's all CG, and it's like there's hardly any CG.
No, cut her arm off, damn it. We want to see Furios's arm ripped off.
And the same with what the which you saw, Wicked. Like all of the train and the Emerald City and
Wicked. I didn't see it.
You didn't see Wicked?
No, I didn't see Wicked.
Okay. The train and the Emerald City and I didn't see it either, but what's surprising is it looks like CG, but so much of it is practical.
Well, we found our voice in segment 4, and we're a little bit over time, and I wanted to throw this one in there real quick. Have you seen Hellboy: The Crooked Man?
No.
It came out in 2024. It's the newest Hellboy film, and it went streaming only. So it was something like $20 million to make, and it only made like 20,000 because nobody's watching it.
Oh God!
And I had picked it up because they sell all the Hellboys, and this is included in it.
Yeah.
And I watched it, and it's damn good. It's pretty
Really?
close. It is made like a grindhouse film. But the reason why I wanted to bring this up is that according to their wiki, and we know that the internet is always correct.
Yeah.
But the claim is that no AI tools were used in pre-production production or elsewhere, and that the characters of both Hellboy and the Crooked Man were created and shot practically with no CGI enhancements.
Oh, wow.
So that was all, because I noticed that with Hellboy, because there's like things where like he's walking around, the tail kind of looks stiff, and I'm like, it could have made a little bit of flourish where like wagged or anything, but never really took out. And I was very, very surprised to see that none of this was CGI, especially with the Crooked Man.
Wow.
I'm not going to spoil it with you, but wow.
Yeah. Well, and that's interesting because there are a lot of movies that are like that now, where they don't have any. There are directors who are like, I don't want to use CGI. I want to try to get this all practically. I mean, Oppenheimer was like that too. Supposedly, even the atomic bomb effects and stuff were all done practically with, I don't know, practical effects somehow. Did you know anything about that?
No, I don't.
So, and I know that Barbie, which you saw, like, all that was that was practical too, or mostly practical. All the dream house, and all the weird Barbie stuff. Mm-hmm. So that is an interesting tack that we have, and even a lot of the newer Star Wars stuff that we're seeing, where they're building practical sets again, if they're not shooting in the volume where it's all just created, digitally. Anyway, so it's pretty good. So yeah, you're right. We kind of found our voice.
I think that should be an episode.
That could be an episode, but I think that should we have talked about this? Maybe give us your suggestions, and if you tell us what we should have talked about, and we don't talk about it next time. We can just forget all about this one and talk about that.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't become a lost episode.
You have been listening to the Sleepless Knights podcast, or should we say, pODDcast.
pODDcast.
Emphasis on the odd. Our theme is by Mars Homeworld at Deadhouse Music. Our opening announcement is by Ophelia Necro. She does a radio show called Suicide Watch. Patreon supporters get to hear this podcast before anyone else, and a lot of other great stuff, right, Paul?
Sure.
Doesn't get it better than that, right? So come join the fun at
patreon.com/Sleepless Knights podcast.
Please stay up with us next week for another Sleepless Knights podcast, or should we say, pODDcast.
pODDcast.
The best thing about being an insomniac is never having to say goodnight.
Good night.